Ethan was not an ordinary person. He loved exploring new places, especially those that were far away from cities and busy roads. He enjoyed nature and often went on trips to mountains and forests. This time, he planned a hiking trip to a mountain, range that very few people had visited. The mountains were tall and covered with thick trees. The air was fresh, and the sounds of birds filled the quiet mornings. Ethan was excited and ready for adventure. One morning, after walking for several hours, Ethan felt tired but happy. He had already seen many beautiful views. The sun was shining, but soon it started to get late. He decided to find a place to rest for a while before heading back. As he walked near the base of the mountain, something strange caught his eye. There was a soft, glowing light coming from a small opening in the rocks. It was unlike anything he had seen before. Curious, Ethan carefully moved closer to see what it was. The light was coming from a cave hidden behind some bushes. Ethan's heart beat faster. He had never noticed this cave before, even though he had passed by this area many times. The cave looked mysterious, with walls shining faintly under the strange light. Ethan felt a mix of fear and excitement. He knew it might be dangerous, but his curiosity was stronger. Slowly, he stepped inside the cave, holding a small flashlight in his hand. The cave was cool and quiet. Ethan's footsteps echoed softly as he moved deeper inside. The light grew brighter the further he went. Suddenly, he saw something that made him stop. In the middle of the cave, standing still and glowing, softly, was a woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with a gentle light, and her eyes were bright and shining like stars. She looked like she was from another world. Ethan could not believe what he was seeing. He rubbed his eyes to make sure he was not dreaming. The woman looked at Ethan with surprise. She did not speak at first, but studied him carefully. Ethan felt a strange feeling in his chest, like he had met someone very important. He wanted to say something, but no words came out. The silence was broken when Ethan suddenly noticed something on his arm. He had a fresh wound, a deep cut from a sharp rock he had hit earlier during his hike. The wound was painful, but what was strange was that it seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the cave. The woman's eyes widened when she saw the wound. She froze, unable to move or speak. Ethan watched her carefully, wondering why she reacted this way. After a few moments, she whispered softly, almost like she was afraid to speak. You can't be real." Ethan was confused. He asked, "Who are you? What do you mean?" But she did not answer clearly. Instead, she reached out slowly and touched his arm gently. The glow on the wound seemed to brighten as she did. Ethan felt a strange warmth where she touched him. It was comforting and strange at the same time. The woman finally spoke in a calm but serious voice. "That wound, it is a sign, a mark that should not exist here. You carry something from my world, something very rare." Ethan looked at her, trying to understand. He had no idea what she meant. He only knew that this woman was very different, and her words felt important. For a moment, they just looked at each other in the quiet cave. Ethan's fear slowly turned into curiosity. He wanted to know more about her and why she seemed so shocked by his wound. The woman, who called herself the Alien Queen, took a deep breath and began to explain. She told Ethan that she came from a faraway place in the stars, a planet very different from Earth. Her people had powers and knowledge that humans could only imagine. But the mark on Ethan's arm was something very special, something that connected him to her world in a way he could not yet understand. Ethan listened carefully. He never believed in aliens or other worlds before, but now he was facing the truth. The Alien Queen looked at him with hope and fear mixed together. She said that his wound was a sign of an ancient story told in her land. a story about a warrior who could change the future of many worlds. Ethan did not know if he was that warrior, but he felt the weight of her words. As the sun began to set outside the cave, the light inside dimmed too. The alien queen asked Ethan to stay with her for a while. She wanted to learn more about him and help him understand what was happening. Ethan agreed, knowing that his life was about to change forever. Together, in the quiet cave filled with soft glowing light, they began a journey that neither of them expected. Outside, the mountain was calm, but inside that hidden cave, a new story was beginning. A story of courage, mystery, and a connection between two worlds that seemed impossible before. Ethan's adventure had only just started. After the quiet moment in the cave, the alien queen gently helped Ethan sit down on a smooth rock nearby. She studied his wound closely, her glowing eyes full of concern and curiosity. Ethan could feel the strange warmth still around his arm, where she had touched it, and somehow the pain seemed to lessen a little. The queen explained that his wound was not an ordinary injury. It was a mark with a deep meaning in her world. She told Ethan about her people, who lived on a distant planet, far beyond the stars Ethan had ever looked at. Their planet was called Zira, and it was a place full of beautiful landscapes, glowing forests, and shining rivers. The Zira people were different from humans. They had powers to heal, to move things with their minds, and to understand things, beyond Earth's knowledge. But these powers came with a great responsibility. The alien queen said that long ago, there was a legend about a warrior marked by a special wound, a wound that glowed faintly like Ethan's. This warrior was said to be the protector of both Zira and other worlds. The mark was very rare, and it was believed that anyone carrying it would have a role in saving many lives during a time of great danger. The queen's voice was soft but serious as she shared this secret. Ethan listened carefully, feeling a mixture of disbelief and wonder. He never imagined his simple hiking accident could connect him to such an incredible story. But the queen's words felt real, and the glowing wound on his arm made it even more real to him. He asked how it was possible that he had this mark, and what it meant for him now. The queen looked at him with sad eyes and said, "You are part of something much bigger than you know. The mark appeared on you because fate brought you here. There is a danger approaching my world, one that could spread to Earth and many others. Your wound is the sign that you are meant to help stop this danger." Ethan's mind raced. How could he help? He was just one man, and he didn't know anything about fighting or protecting worlds. But the queen seemed to believe in him, and that gave him hope. He asked her to tell him more about the danger she spoke of. The alien queen explained that a dark force, called the Shadow Legion, was rising in her world. This force wanted to take control of Zira and then move to other planets, spreading fear and destruction. The Shadow Legion was strong and clever, and many of her people had already been captured or lost. The Queen's people had been trying to fight back, but they needed help. Help from someone with the special mark. Ethan felt a chill run through him. The story sounded like something from a science fiction movie, but here he was, living it. He asked if there was anything he could do to prepare. The Queen smiled gently and said that his first step was to trust her and learn more about his connection to Zira. She told Ethan that the glowing wound was a kind of key. It was linked to an ancient energy that could protect him and give him strength. But to unlock this energy, Ethan needed to understand his own past better. The Queen sensed that Ethan had forgotten important memories, memories that might explain how the wound appeared in the first place. Ethan thought hard. He remembered the accident that caused the wound. He had slipped on a sharp rock near a waterfall weeks ago, but everything else about that day was blurry. He could not remember much after the fall. The Queen explained that sometimes, when someone is marked like this, their mind blocks parts of their memory to protect them from pain or fear. But those memories were important for the future. The queen placed her hand on Ethan's forehead and closed her eyes. A soft light glowed around them both. Ethan felt a wave of calmness wash over him. Suddenly, images began to appear in his mind. Flashes of a strange place, filled with bright colors and alien shapes. He saw himself standing in a glowing forest, surrounded by creatures he didn't recognize. He heard voices calling his name in a language he didn't understand, but somehow felt familiar. When the vision ended, Ethan opened his eyes, amazed and a little shaken. He asked the queen what those images meant. She said they were fragments of his past life on Zira, a past he had forgotten but was now slowly coming back. This explained why he had the special wound. It was a mark from his life there. Ethan began to feel that his life on Earth was only one part of his story. The queen told him that many people from her world had come to Earth before, but very few had the mark like him. It made Ethan unique, someone who could bridge the two worlds and help save both. Over the next hours, the queen taught Ethan about Zira's history and the Shadow Legion's rise. She showed him images of her planet using a small, glowing orb she carried. The orb displayed scenes of beautiful cities, forests that glowed at night, and the fierce battles between her people and the dark forces. Ethan was both amazed and sad to learn how much her people had suffered. The alien queen also told Ethan about the hope her people still held. They believed that one day the warrior with the glowing wound would come and lead them to victory. Ethan looked at his arm again, the faint light still there, and slowly began to accept that this was his destiny. As night fell outside the cave, Ethan felt a new sense of purpose. He wanted to help the queen and her people, but he also knew he had much to learn. The queen promised to stay with him and guide him through this journey. She said that the path would be hard and full of challenges, but they would face it together. Before they rested, the alien queen showed Ethan a small device that could communicate across worlds. She said it would help them stay connected and call for help if needed. Ethan held it carefully, feeling the weight of responsibility growing inside him. The quiet cave no longer felt like a place of fear, but a place of hope. Ethan knew his life had changed forever. From that moment on, he was not just a simple explorer. He was part of a story much bigger than Earth alone. With a calm heart, Ethan prepared to face whatever came next. The glowing wound on his arm was a reminder of his new role, a link between two worlds and a sign that his adventure was only just beginning. As the days passed, Ethan and the alien queen grew closer. Though they came from completely different worlds, they found themselves connected by the strange wound and the important mission ahead. Ethan wanted to understand everything about her world, and the queen wanted to help him prepare for what was coming. Each morning, the queen would teach Ethan about Zira's culture and history. She told him stories of brave warriors, peaceful leaders, and ancient guardians who protected their planet from harm. Ethan was fascinated by the stories and the way her people lived in harmony with nature and technology. Zira was unlike any place he had ever imagined, full of bright colors, floating cities, and creatures that glowed softly in the dark. But the queen also warned him that danger was growing. The Shadow Legion, a dark and powerful group, was expanding its control over Zira. They wanted to take away the freedom of the Zira people and rule with fear. Many of the queen's friends and family were already captured or had gone into hiding. It was a difficult time for her people, and she feared for their future. Ethan listened carefully and felt a strong desire to help. Though he was just a human with no special powers, the queen believed in him. She said that the glowing wound was a symbol of hope, a sign that he had a role to play in the fight against the Shadow Legion. Ethan was both scared and excited by this idea. He wanted to be brave, but he also wondered how he could possibly face such a huge challenge. One afternoon, while resting in the cave, Ethan started to remember more about the strange event when he got the wound. Little by little, pieces of his memory came back. He recalled a bright light surrounding him and a feeling of warmth and power flowing into his arm. It was as if something beyond Earth had touched him and given him a part of itself. These memories made Ethan realize that his connection to Zyra was deeper than he thought. The alien queen noticed the change in Ethan. She smiled and said, "Your memories are returning because you are ready. The more you remember, the stronger you will become." She also explained that the glowing wound was linked to an ancient energy called Zyrian light. This energy could protect him and even give him special abilities if he learned how to control it. To help Ethan, the Queen taught him how to use this energy. She showed him how to focus his mind and feel the warmth of the Zyrian light inside him. At first, it was hard for Ethan. He tried to concentrate, but the energy felt strange and difficult to control. The Queen was patient and encouraged him to keep trying. Day by day, Ethan improved. He learned to use the Zyrian light to heal small cuts and bruises on his skin. He could even move small objects by focusing his energy, something he had never thought possible. The Queen was proud of his progress. She told him that these skills would be very important in the battles ahead. While Ethan trained, the Queen also shared stories about the Shadow Legion's leaders. These leaders were powerful and dangerous, with abilities similar to the Zyrian. Light, but twisted by darkness. The Shadow Legion wanted to destroy anyone who stood in their way. The Queen explained that the only way to defeat them was with courage, teamwork, and the power of the ancient energy. Ethan realized that he was not alone in this fight. The Queen had loyal friends and warriors who were still free and ready to resist the Shadow Legion. She promised to introduce him to them when the time was right. For now, their focus was on building trust and learning. One evening, after a long day of training and stories, Ethan and the Queen sat outside the cave looking at the stars. Ethan asked her how she felt about everything that was happening. The Queen looked at him and said, "I feel hope for the first time in a long time. You remind me that even in the darkest times, light can shine through." Ethan smiled. He felt the same way. Before meeting the Queen, his life had been ordinary, filled with small adventures and quiet days. Now everything was different. He was part of something bigger, something important. Suddenly, the Queen's glowing orb lit up with an urgent message. The Shadow Legion was moving closer to their secret meeting place. Ethan's heart raced. It was time to act. The Queen stood and said, "We must prepare to meet my people. They will need to see your mark and believe in the prophecy. Are you ready?" Ethan nodded without hesitation. Even though he was nervous, he knew he had to face this moment. Together, they left the cave and traveled through the forest under the light of the moon. The air was cool, and the sounds of night creatures surrounded them. Ethan felt the glow of his wound, a steady reminder of his purpose. After a short journey, they arrived at a hidden village filled with people like the Queen, glowing softly and watching them carefully. The villagers stopped their work and gathered around as the Queen introduced Ethan. Some were surprised and cautious, but when Ethan showed his wound, a quiet excitement spread through the crowd. The village elder, a wise woman with kind eyes, approached Ethan. She studied the glowing mark and smiled warmly. "The prophecy speaks of a warrior who will come with the mark of light," she said. "You are that warrior, Ethan. Together, we will protect our world and yours." Ethan felt a strong connection to these people. They were strangers, yet they accepted him as one of their own. The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "This is only the beginning. We have much to do." That night, as Ethan rested, he thought about the journey ahead. He knew it would be difficult and dangerous, but he also knew he was not alone. With the alien Queen and her people by his side, he felt ready to face whatever challenges came next. The day after Ethan met the village elders and the other Zyra people, the mood was tense but hopeful. Everyone knew the danger from the Shadow Legion was growing closer. The alien queen and the village leaders prepared to face the coming battle, and Ethan felt both nervous and determined. He had come a long way from being a simple hiker to becoming part of this fight for survival. Ethan spent the morning practicing the control of the Xerian light. The alien queen stood by him, guiding every movement and teaching him how to focus his energy. She told him that in battle, calmness and control were more important than strength alone. "Your mind is the key," she said. "If you let fear or anger take over, the light will fade." At first, Ethan struggled. The power inside him was new and unpredictable. Sometimes it flared too strong, and other times it barely responded. But he kept trying. With each attempt, he felt the warmth inside grow stronger and more steady. The glow from his wound seemed to pulse gently, like a heartbeat. The queen told him this meant he was connecting deeper with the ancient energy. In the afternoon, scouts returned with news that the Shadow Legion was approaching fast, only a day away, from the village. The leaders called a meeting to prepare their defense. Ethan listened closely as they discussed their strategy. The Shadow Legion was known for its cruel tactics and powerful warriors, but the Xera people had one advantage: their knowledge of the land and the energy that protected it. The alien queen looked at Ethan and said, "You must be ready to face their leaders. They will try to break your spirit. Remember who you are and the light within you." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility, but also a strange sense of calm. That night, Ethan could not sleep well. He thought about the battles ahead and worried about what might happen. He missed his old life, the quiet, simple days on Earth, but he knew there was no turning back now. He was part of this new world and its struggle. When dawn came, Ethan and the Xera warriors gathered outside the village. The sky was gray and cloudy, as if nature itself sensed the coming fight. Ethan looked around at the faces of the people standing with him. They were not just strangers anymore. They were his allies and friends. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the nearby forest. The Shadow Legion was arriving. Dark figures appeared between the trees, moving quickly and silently. The warriors took their positions, and the battle began. Ethan's heart raced as the first fighters came close. He focused his energy, feeling the Xerian light flow through his body. His wound glowed brighter, giving him strength and courage. The queen fought beside him, her power shining like a beacon in the dark. The battle was fierce. The Shadow Legions. Warriors were strong and ruthless, but the Xera people used their knowledge of the land and the ancient energy to fight back. Ethan moved carefully, using his new abilities to protect himself and others. He healed small wounds and used the energy to push enemies away when they got too close. During the fight, Ethan faced one of the Shadow Legion's leaders, a tall figure with dark armor and glowing red eyes. The leader laughed and said, "You think your light can stop me, human? You are nothing." Ethan felt fear, but also a deep power rising inside him. He raised his arm, and the glowing wound shone like a star. With a strong will, he pushed back the darkness. The leader was surprised and taken aback by Ethan's strength. The two clashed in a battle of energy and willpower. Ethan remembered the queen's words about calmness and focus. He closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and let the Xerian light flow freely. When he opened his eyes, the leader was thrown back by the powerful wave of energy. The other warriors cheered, and the Shadow Legion began to retreat. The battle was won, but Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The dark force was still out, there, waiting for another chance. After the fight, Ethan was exhausted but proud. The alien queen came to him and smiled. "You have done well. You have the heart of a true warrior." Ethan looked at his glowing wound and felt a new confidence growing inside him. The village celebrated their victory, but the queen reminded everyone to stay alert. The Shadow Legion would not give up so easily. Ethan felt ready to continue fighting and learning. He knew the journey ahead would be hard, but he was no longer alone. That night, as the stars shone brightly above, Ethan sat with the Queen and the village elders. They talked about the future and the steps they would take to protect their world and Earth. Ethan felt a deep connection to these people and a strong sense of purpose. He realized that the wound he once feared was now a symbol of hope, strength, and the bond between two worlds. Ethan was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing he carried the light inside him. After the fierce battle with the Shadow Legion, Ethan and the alien queen knew their fight was far from over. The victory had given them hope, but the dark forces were still strong and dangerous. Ethan felt a new sense of responsibility as he looked at the glowing wound on his arm. It was no longer just a mark. It was a symbol of the trust the queen and her people had placed in him. In the days that followed, Ethan trained harder than ever. He practiced using the Xerian light, learning to control its power with more skill and confidence. The alien queen stood by his side, guiding him through every step. She taught him how to stay calm under pressure and how to listen to the energy inside him. Ethan also spent time with the people of Zyra, learning their ways and sharing stories of Earth. The villagers welcomed him warmly, seeing him as a bridge between their world and his. He felt grateful for their friendship and strength. Together they prepared for the next challenge. One evening, the queen called Ethan to a special place outside the village. It was a hill overlooking the glowing forests of Zyra, shining softly under the light of distant stars. The queen looked at Ethan with serious eyes. "The Shadow Legion will return," she said. "Stronger and more determined. We must be ready." Ethan nodded. He understood the danger, but he was no longer afraid. The wound on his arm glowed brighter, filling him with courage. He felt ready to face whatever came next. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the nearby trees. Ethan and the queen turned quickly to see a group of warriors approaching. These were allies from other parts of Zyra, people who had heard of Ethan and the queen's fight and wanted to help. Their arrival brought new hope to the village. Together, they formed a plan to defend their world and protect Earth from the Shadow Legion's dark plans. The alien queen explained that the fight was not just about weapons or power, it was about hope, trust, and the light that connects all living things. As the days passed, Ethan and his new friends trained and shared stories. He felt stronger and more confident. The glowing wound on his arm was a constant reminder of his purpose. Then one night, the Shadow Legion attacked again. This time, they were more prepared and stronger than before. The battle was fierce, and Ethan fought bravely. Alongside the queen and the warriors, the Xerian light flowed through him like never before, healing wounds and protecting his friends. During the fight, Ethan faced the Shadow Legion's leader once more. The dark figure sneered, but Ethan stood firm. He raised his arm, and the glowing wound shone like a beacon in the dark. With a powerful wave of energy, he pushed back the darkness, breaking the enemy's power. The Shadow Legion began to retreat, defeated once again. This time they fled for good. After the battle, the village celebrated their victory with joy and relief. Ethan looked at the queen, who smiled proudly. "You have saved our world and many others," she said softly. "You are the warrior we hoped for." Ethan felt a deep happiness and peace. He knew his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a hiker or an explorer. He was a protector, a hero connected to two worlds. The queen told Ethan that he could return to Earth if he wished, but that the bond between them would remain strong. Ethan smiled and said he wanted to visit Zyra again someday. The queen promised that they would always be connected by the light and the mark. Before leaving, Ethan took one last look at the glowing wound. It was no longer a mystery or a curse. It was a gift, a symbol of courage, hope, and friendship. As Ethan walked away from the village, the stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever. He knew that wherever life took him, the light inside him would guide his path. His adventure was over for now, but the story of the alien queen and the glowing wound would live on, a true story of trust, courage, and the power of believing in the impossible.